Israel frees 200 Palestinian prisoners held at Ofer military prison in the occupied West Bank. Trucks carrying humanitarian aid pass through Gaza's Rafah. And the U.S. Senate confirms Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary and Pete Hegseth as Defense Secretary. It's 8 p.m. Cairo local time, and you're now watching Q News. We begin today's bulletin with the latest developments in Gaza. Israel has freed 200 Palestinian prisoners held at Ofer military prison in the occupied West Bank. The prisoners were released as part of an exchange with 4 female Israeli soldiers who had been held by Hamas since October 7, 2023. It was the second swap to take place under the truce after an initial release on the Israel-Hamas ceasefire's first day on January 19. 70 Palestinian detainees, most serving life sentences or long terms, have been transferred from Gaza through the Egypt-Gaza border. This has been confirmed by Al Qnews correspondent stationed on the Egyptian side of Rafah. The detainees' transfer follows their release under a detainee exchange agreement. Earlier, the Palestinian Prisoners Affairs Committee announced that Israel plans to release 200 Palestinian prisoners, with 70 of them said to be deported outside Gaza and the West Bank as part of the deal. An Egyptian source has revealed that Egyptian and Qatari mediators have been informed that Arbel Yahoud is alive and will be released on February 1st. This announcement follows Egypt's successful efforts in facilitating a detainee exchange as part of the ongoing ceasefire agreement. Buses carrying released Palestinian detainees have arrived in West Bank's Ramallah after being freed in exchange for 4 female Israeli soldier detainees. Crowds of Palestinians, including family members of the freed prisoners, gathered to cheer them as they disembarked the buses that carried them from the Israeli Ofer military prison. Israel's prison service said all 200 prisoners have been released. Palestinian officials said around 70 will be deported to Egypt, another 16 sent to Gaza, and the remaining prisoners will be released to the West Bank. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has is expected as part of the detainee exchange agreement. His office emphasized that resolving Yahoud's case remains a precondition for Palestinian resettlement in northern Gaza, reaffirming Israel's firm stance during the ongoing exchange process.
Efforts in helping free Israeli hostages. I look forward to working with you to return the remaining hostages.
Palestinian families have gathered near the Natsriam corridor, hoping to be able to travel to northern Gaza. Under the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, residents of North Gaza would be allowed to return. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Palestinians in Gaza would not be permitted to return to the northern part of the territory until the issue of a female civilian detainee is resolved. Trucks carrying humanitarian aid has passed through Gaza's Rafah. More than 4,208 trucks entered the Gaza Strip in the 6 days since the ceasefire began between Israel and Hamas on January 19. The truce deal requires at least 600 truckloads of aid to enter Gaza each day of the initial 6-week ceasefire, including 50 carrying fuel. Half of those trucks are supposed to go to Gaza's north, where experts have warned famine is imminent. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency UNRWA has reported that 660,000 children in Gaza are out of school, with 88% of schools either damaged or destroyed. According to UNRWA, over 14,500 children have died during the ongoing Israeli war in Gaza. Julia Toma, UNRWA's Director of Communications, highlighted the agency's efforts to provide education, mental health support, and essential humanitarian aid despite significant challenges. This comes as a new Israeli law poses a threat to UNRWA's operations in Palestinian territories. However, the agency has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. The UN Office for Humanitarian Affairs has raised concerns about worsening healthcare access in the West Bank due to Israeli movement restrictions. According to their statement, only 68% of health centers operate just 2 to 3 days a week, while hospitals are running at 70% capacity. Severe mobility restrictions, including road closures and lengthy checkpoint delays, are further disrupting access to critical healthcare services. And now we move on to the latest developments in the United States in President Donald Trump's era.
Donald Trump is his name, and he's there to stay.
As unlikely, impossible is now reality.
We will make America powerful. We will win, win, win. And we will make America great again. Let's do it already, we will very quickly make America great again.
U.S. President Donald Trump has taken an aerial tour of the areas devastated by the Palisades fire and has burned through nearly 24,000 acres. Trump was greeted at Los Angeles International Airport by California Governor Gavin Newsom. The stop in California was part of Trump's first official trip since reclaiming the presidency. Earlier, he toured areas in North Carolina devastated by last September's Hurricane Helene and vowed to sign an executive order to overhaul or eliminate FEMA. The Senate has voted to confirm Kristi Noem as President Donald Trump's Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Noem has served as governor of South Dakota since 2019 and is a former state legislator and four-term congresswoman. She will now be tasked with leading the Department of Homeland Security, a sprawling agency that oversees everything from U.S. Customs and Border Protection and Immigration and Customs Enforcement to the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the U.S. Secret Service.
40% of our home health aides. They are an outsized percentage of child care workforce and the farm workforce.
I'm satisfied that Governor Noem.
Pete Hegseth has been sworn in a U.S. Defense Secretary after narrowly securing enough votes. Hegseth was confirmed after a 50-50 vote in the Senate when Vice President J.D. Vance came to the chamber to break the tie in his role as President of the Senate after 3 Republicans joined every Democrat and independent in voting no. Hexas will lead 1.3 million active duty service members and the nearly 1 million civilians working for the U.S. military with a nearly $1 trillion annual budget.
This obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that
U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has dismissed the independent inspectors general of at least 12 major federal agencies. Washington Post reported that the agencies include the Departments of Defense, State, Transportation, Veterans Affairs, Housing and Urban Development, Interior, and Energy.
And when you have a problem in Los Angeles, or when you have a problem even in the state of California, you have your own, essentially FEMA. You fix it yourself. You don't have somebody coming in from a state.
The U.S. Department of the Interior has announced the official renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, following a decision by President Donald Trump. The department stated in a press release that this change reflects the nation's commitment to preserving the exceptional heritage of the United States and ensuring that future generations of Americans honor the legacy of its heroes and historical achievements. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an order to declassify government files related to the assassinations of former President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert Kennedy, and civil rights leader Martin Luther King, Jr. Trump promised on the campaign trail to release classified intelligence and law enforcement files on the 1963 assassination of JFK. He has made a similar promise during his 2017 to 2021 term, and he did in fact release some documents related to JFK's 1963 slaying. But he ultimately bowed to pressure from the Central Intelligence Agency and Federal Bureau of Investigation and kept a significant chunk of documents under wraps, citing national security concerns.
Robert F. Kennedy and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years.
And for more analysis, we now move to Mark Sommers in our newsroom.
Yes, thank you, Selma. We are joined from Washington right now by Marco Mossad, the non-resident scholar at Middle East Policy Council. Welcome to Qnews. Thanks for being there with us. So Donald Trump signed into law hundreds of executive orders in the opening days of his presidency. Which are the ones that stand out most for you?
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, as you said, President Trump, within the first week of his presidency, he signed a lot of executive orders that in which I can't keep track of them. But the general overview for President Trump signing executive orders trying to make America great again, as he campaigned in the last 8 months. And the most executive order that was the most announcement that struck me, to be honest, is within his interview with Fox News 2 days ago about his foreign policy or his different approach towards Iran, because he is the president who imposed a significant amount of sanctions against Iran. He is the president who signed different executive orders trying to contain Iran and its proxies in the war in the Middle East. And right now he has different approach or different tune when it comes to Iran containment in the region. And right now he's trying to make sure that he is starting a new era or a new foreign policy approach towards Iran. Why? Because he knows that Iran has been tremendously weakened in the last 5-6 months. He knows that the fall of the Assad regime and all of the Iranian proxies in the region have been weakened by the Israelis' aggressive Israelis war in Lebanon and in Syria and also in Gaza Strip. So he thinks that let's make us a deal in Iran and try to pave the way for the mega deal that it's the normalization agreement between the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. So I think he is trying to take a different approach when it comes to foreign policy, and also this different approach aligned with his First America policy, that he wants to focus in the internal or the economy of the United States by attracting manufacturing and multinational companies to just invest in the United States, and also enjoying the tax cut as he promised. Otherwise, he gave them ultimatum in Davis and the Davis summit that he called all companies to come to the United States to enjoy the tax cut or to face tariffs and like maybe sanctions. This is what Trump is trying to do, and also he succeeded in attracting billions of dollars when it comes to the Stargate project, and we are talking about $500 billion in investing in only one sector within 2-3 days. Of course, this news or this announcement is seen like as a tremendous progress and tremendous success by but it's also the middle class families that because they know that this huge investment inside the United States will reduce the inflation rate and of course will like fix their life and or like making their life better, as he campaigned in the last 6-8 months.
Well, let's talk a little bit about domestic policy then. What about these inspectors general? Trump's fired at least 12 of them. These are the people that investigate each of their own departments for any wrongdoing. Why might he have done that?
He thinks that the DOJ or most of the bodies of the DOJ have been tremendously utilized from the Democratic Party or the Democratic administration under the Biden administration, and he think that DOJ is right now is corrupted and he needs to fix it, as he also campaigned about this news. And I think right now he's trying to not to take revenge against his enemies, as he said, but trying to fix what has been going in the DOJ and also try to make a huge distinction between politics and using like the judiciary power just to run after like their opponents. He will not take any revenge against his enemies, and as he said, as he mentioned, but I think he's trying to fix what's going on in the DOJ, at the DOJ, and also he's trying to reduce the size of the federal government, as he already mentioned, and creating DOGE, which led by Elon Musk, his right hand, of course, will serve his interest in when it comes to the reducing the size of the federal government. But in overview, I think he has been punished a lot, and he has grievances against the previous administration led by the Biden administration, and I think if he is willing to do, or if he's willing to be like a politician or needs to be remembered in history, he has a very good chance right now because he has majority in the Congress, and he won by a huge margin in the popular vote, and for the first time, I think in years, for the Republican nominee. So I think he has the good chance right now to appear as a politician, and to appear as a man who stick to his words and try to bridge the gap between the Republicans and the Democrats in the United States, either in power or in the popular level. But I think right now he thinks more about the economy. He thinks more about like attracting multinational companies towards the United States to invest money in there, and then try to fix what he thinks that's like messed up by the Biden administration.
Well, you mentioned the red states. Let's talk about possibly the bluest state of all, California. His first trip outside of the White House was to California. He's met with a man he's not a big fan of, the Democrat governor of California, Gavin Newsom. And he's made some political demands and threatened to withhold federal aid to California, of course, just suffering the wildfires. Tell us about that. What's your take on this?
As you all know, like President Trump, who wants to reduce the size of the federal government, and the first thing that comes to his mind to just eliminate FEMA. FEMA is like the federal body of the federal government that cares more about the natural disasters and try to help devastated communities. And he thinks that FEMA, or that the FEMA federal agency that focuses about the international or human-made or natural disasters, are not well prepared just to help. Why? Because he thinks that the governors of the states are well known with their territories and with their states, and they are the best ones to be prepared and to deploy their personnel in the devastated areas more than FEMA, because FEMA is on the federal level, and if they deploy personnel to the FEMA, then it will take them time to be prepared or to be informed with the situation there. So he wants to eliminate FEMA, and also he thinks FEMA is being politicized by the previous administration, the Biden administration, and he also visited North Carolina, and also he has grievances there because North Carolina is has not been helped at all from the recent hurricane, and he wants to do the same thing with California. But he demanded two things before he poured in the federal voter ID in the state of California, and also he wants to increase the water supply to the all fields in California to help farmers. And I think both of these demands are fair to ask, but of course it's hard because now it's being seen as like the President Trump, he wants them or putting pressure or using their needs right now to achieve what he wants. And if you compare it with what the Biden administration did in his last 4 years, I think it's fair. But again, it shouldn't be on the expenses of the people, because right now people are suffering. Millions are homeless right now because they don't have homes. And I think that the state of California or the mayor of Los Angeles are trying to act, but not as fast as the federal government or not as fast as Mr. Trump. And I think this pressure, political pressure on Gavin Newsom or the LA mayor, of course, will help them and push them to act more fast to achieve or to fulfill the people's demands. And I think we will see what's going on with his political demands before he start putting some money in to help the people of California, of course.
Now, around the world, conspiracy theorists all over are getting very excited about Trump's decision to release the classified documents on the assassination of JFK. He promised to do that in his first term. Will it happen?
He signed the executive order to reveal any security clearance on this investigation, and I think within 45 days we will see all of these documents to be revealed. And it's huge announcement, because this is like we could see some shocking information about the cooperation between CIA and different community agencies around the world when it comes to the assassination of the former president. So it's huge announcement, and I think it's welcomed by the conservatives specifically because they think that the deep state is or there is no right for the deep state to just to keep these documents away from the people, because again, depend on the first the amendment for the Constitution. So the freedom of speech, and everyone needs to know what happened to the former president or all of the other two assassins. So I think now he's serving that transparency, and the deep state shouldn't be the one that are they think that they're smart and the other people are not smart, and then they have the ability.
I'm going to have to cut you off. I hope you don't think it's the deep state's fault, but I'm going to have to cut you off because unfortunately we've just run out of time. Marco Mossad, thank you very much for joining us here on Q News, and it's back to you, Salma.
Thank you so much, Mark, for this interesting analysis. And now moving to Russia, Ukraine's military has stated that Russia launched 61 drones and 2 missiles at the country in an overnight attack. Ukraine's military added that it shot down both missiles and 46 drones, while 15 other drones disappeared from radars without reaching their targets. Ukraine's State Emergency Service has said that a Russian drone hit an apartment building in a city near Kyiv, damaging several floors but leaving no casualties. Russia has intensified its air attacks on Ukraine, sending dozens of drones almost every night. The day before, a Russian drone hit an apartment block in Hilivacha, Kyiv region, killing one. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has stated that Russian leader Vladimir Putin was trying to manipulate efforts by U.S. President Donald Trump to secure a peaceful solution. Zelensky added that the head of Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service reported to a meeting of the military command on Russia's military potential and Putin's readiness to continue the war and manipulate world leaders. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here's what we've been covering. Israel frees 200 Palestinian prisoners held at Ofer military prison in the occupied West Bank. Trucks carrying humanitarian aid passed through Gaza's Rafah. And the U.S. Senate confirms Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary and Pete Hegseth as Defense Secretary. This concludes our news bulletin for the hour. Don't forget to follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at QNewsEG to stay informed. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more updates on Q News.